Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Community Exchange Podcast, where we talk to friends old and new, especially new in this case, about their careers and the future of the media industry. I'm Matthew Scott Goldstein, better known as
MSG.
That was good, Bridget. Thank you. As always, the Community Exchange Podcast is brought to you by OpenWeb, the company building a safer, fairer, and more trustworthy internet. Now I have a great conversation for you with Bridget Williams, Chief Product and Strategy Officer at Hearst
Newspapers.
Yeah,
very
not
important.
magazines,
Very
newspapers.
important. Or TV.
We need to know that.
Yep.
Bridget is a product and strategy leader who drives digital growth and innovation across media, commerce, and emerging ventures. Okay, Bridget.
That's a mouthful.
Okay, you ready? I went through your whole bio on LinkedIn. There's a lot going on. We're going to start, I think, in 2004 at the...
99.
Oh, 99, sorry.
New York Times.
99,
yes.
the New York Times.
Yeah, I mean, don't all of our resumes at this age get pretty chocked full, I hope?
Well, mine is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I say how old I am now, because I'm the oldest person in the room.
I'm right behind you. So I was at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel out of college, and I heard about this thing called the internet, and I asked if I could work on it, and I jumped in and did it. And then I went to the New York Times.
How'd you get to the New York Times from the Milwaukee?
I cold called them and said, I'm working on the internet here. And they said, we're hiring like crazy. And like a month later, I was moving to New York with my two small children and my husband. Yes. And my husband was a reporter. So.
And you moved to New York for the New York Times?
Yep.
And what was your job at the New York Times?
First, I was the sales manager at a sub-brand called NY Today, or New York
that.
Today.
Okay.
Then we merged it back into the core brand, and then I took on sort of sales strategy, revenue strategy for a bunch of categories. And then I started to get into product a little bit. I was working really closely with the product team on sort of building out categories. And I pitched and said, I want to be a GM. I want to like run a area of business. And they're like, that's just not.
Damn,
that's
Bridget,
not
go.
that's not a thing that
Go.
we have. And because I realized at that point, like ad sales was not my gig. You know.
Yeah, I was surprised when you said the ad sales side.
Yeah, it
given
just
what you
wasn't
do
my
today.
bailiwick, and it just didn't like inspire me. And there's a lot of people that are better at it than I am. So I really wanted to get into product strategy and business strategy, and I was starting to dabble. And then I did the .com thing and did a couple of startups. And
Wait, how long were you at the New York Times for?
I was 4.5 years.
And then why'd you leave?
Because they were like, you're doing great. We're going to like elevate you through the ad sales. And I was like, I want a different structure that allows me to, and they were growing and they didn't have that structure, you know? And so, and I didn't want to just be a product manager. And I was just like, you know, it was such an amazing place with some of the smartest people I've ever worked with. I loved it so much. Any
shout outs to anyone you worked with?
Oh my gosh. Jason Krebs, Allison Racer, Christine Cook, Elliot Pierce, Dan Bigman, Martin Niesenholtz, who was the leader of the band,
him.
Lincoln Milstein, Ira Silberstein. It was like we get together and have dinner, and I look around and I'm like, holy cow.
I say this all the time. It was literally lightning in a bottle back then, right?
Yeah, it was magical. And it was so much fun. It was really like I couldn't have asked for a better place.
Okay, so you left the New York Times.
Yep. Did a Israeli startup, then did some consulting work. My kids were like in middle school at that point.
On the Upper West Side.
I was in Chelsea at the time.
Oh, even better.
And the kids were like, I was traveling all the time for the startup, and it just was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Okay.
So I did some consulting, and then ended up at a startup from that Jason Krebs had founded, funded out of General Catalyst in Boston. We did that for a couple years and went at it. And then Business Insider was a partner of ours at the startup. And I just...
And what year are we at now about?
We're at about 2005,
Okay.
6. And I just was enamored with what they were doing.
And that was with Henry.
Yeah. I was like employee 11.
At Insider.
Yeah.
Wow. Was it Silicon Alley Insider back then?
Yes, we were just transitioning to Business Insider when I joined.
But when Henry first started that, it was one of the most compelling internet sites out there.
Yeah.
Especially if you lived in New York. And
oh my gosh.
In the media tech world.
Joe Weisenthal. I mean, it was so much fun. And I think that we were talking about this. I'm so compelled by who's trying something different in media. And I could see it really clearly.
Henry had a vision.
Oh my gosh. And it like, I loved everything. I loved the writers were like no journalists I had ever worked with. They were just like wild, and
what was your role at Insider then?
business development, audience development.
Okay.
So that was really fun.
That was easy then.
It was from your lips.
Right.
It was very easy. And also Henry and Julie Hansen, who was actually my boss and is one of the most amazing bosses I've ever had. They basically, business development, as you know, can take lots of flavors, and there was a lot to be done, and there was only 11 of us. And so I would be like, can I go do that? And they'd be like, yeah, do that. And then I'd be like, we should probably do that. And they're like, yeah, go do that.
Go do it, Bridget.
What a blast, And so, and just smart people. And it was so much fun. So much fun.
Okay. And then you left Insider.
I did.
I assume reluctantly.
Yeah. I completely. I basically was like, what am I doing and what can I grow still? Because what I would do is I'd start something and it would work and then we would turn it into a thing, And I basically was like, I think I want to run product. And if you know about Business Insider, Henry runs product. He's the visionary. And I got an opportunity to work for Dan Abrams to run a bunch of sites that he owned.
Was Nick Carlson there also then?
At Business Insider, yeah.
Okay.
And I'd started to talk to Food 52. I had been sort of an unofficial advisor to them throughout the years. And then they raised some money and they had a COO spot. But very similarly, they were making a lot of their money from commerce. And I was like, that is interesting. That's super.
But you said real commerce, not affiliate deals.
Marketplace, yeah. Yeah, they had built out relationships with
and
makers.
They own the inventory?
Sometimes, but
Okay.
sometimes it was dropship.
Okay.
But we were the merchant of record, so we took the transaction and had the relationship. And what a wild, talk about learning, like just logistics.
Also, being the COO of a company, even if it's small, is still a great opportunity. To
So
learn
much
everything.
fun. It was so much fun. And it was a high growth moment. And hiring up and figuring things out, and it was very energizing for sure. So was there about 2.5 years. Listen, like in a startup, you look at structures, you look at talents, and we were shuffling the decks all the time, and I was shuffled at some point. And so then I just took a moment and was like, what did I like about Food 52? What did I not like about Food 52? And I don't think I'm a lifestyle girly,
So you're not a lifestyle girly,
I'm a news person. And I felt very compelled that there's something.
Well, that's also from the beginning at Milwaukee and the New York Times.
Totally.
You had that.
And also
newspaper.
as a person in my life, I'm a news junkie. I'm
Okay.
totally interested in a million different how people are telling stories, where they're telling stories, what are the stories. I was like on Twitter in 2006.
But I love that you had the self-actualization. You realize, not lifestyle, I want news.
Totally.
Okay.
And there was a moment. I don't know if I've ever told Jeff Johnson this. Who runs newspaper now? He's the president. We had signed the papers at Hearst Newspaper, and I was in San Francisco to have Thanksgiving with my sister. And I said, "Hey, can I just go to the newsroom and say hi and meet people?" And even though I wasn't announced, Jeff Johnson was running the Chronicle at the time, and very nicely let me pop in. And at the last minute, and I walked in, and it was kind of messy. And, if you know anything about 52, it's a very, high brand, high lifestyle, never messy place. And
Complete 180.
yeah. And the journalists were cranky and everyone's like, I don't know, go over there. And I literally teared up. I was like, these are
There
my
you go.
people.
Producer Andrew, I literally teared up. Name of the episode.
I just was like, these are my people, and so, and I think I probably guessed right because I've been there a little while
and
now.
then what year did you go back? Did you go to the Hearst Newspapers?
December of 2017.
And what was your initial role there?
Strategy and operations.
Okay, not product yet.
Not product yet.
Okay,
Yep.
and then what'd you do over the past 7 years and 8 months?
Yeah,
in
I mean,
Hearst to get where you are, to Hearst Newspapers to get where you are today.
yeah, I think if I were to sort of summarize, it's been different kinds of responsibilities, but it was sort of like change the trajectory. And I tell my team now, like, we are sitting in central, right? We're the corporate, expense to everyone.
And how many newspapers are there?
There's about 32, I hope I get this right, 32 total, but we really have the 5 major markets, which is San Francisco, Houston, now Austin, very excitingly, San Antonio, Albany, and a constellation of Connecticut papers. And those are really what drive the
It's a big Texas presence.
Big Texas presence. Yeah, and we also have we have Midland and Beaumont and Laredo. So, we sit in, there's a product and engineering, business development, UX, data.
That's all corporate.
Yeah, and sitting centrally. Marketing, obviously, but marketing is run by Mark Campbell, who's our chief marketing officer, who is amazing, the best in the business. And so our job is to really change the trajectory. Like, we should not be a business as usual part of the organization, and we should be like really helping our local colleagues and seeing around the corner and, how, like, taking insights from somewhere and applying it. So if I look at my 7 years, it's been some combination of doing that in different parts of the business. So we have some parts of the business that are sites that don't have any subscriptions. So I took those on and kind of revamped them and expanded them, SF Gate being the biggest. Programmatic, of course, revamped that. And product is really hard for a media company.
Product's the hardest role in any media company.
Agreed.
We've had many conversations. Jenny Baird, it's like it's the hardest job.
It is. It's so the user experience and what is produced and putting it together. It's just so Patty Mikulski, who is our SVP of content, is now in my organization, as is what we call the DevHub, which we'll talk about when we talk about AI, who is this amazing group of really visionary journalists. And bringing together in one organization that the newsrooms and product, I think, is pivotal. And I stay in my lane. I'm not a journalist. I hope Patty would agree that I don't get involved with those sorts of decisions. But aligning the content strategy and the product strategy is not totally done yet, but it's very exciting.
Are you in the data every day, looking at Parsley, whatever?
I'm like a psycho.
What tools do you use for metrics?
Looker, Parsley. Our data team, led by Ali Nadiri, is, I think we have some of the best data in the business. We've been developing it over time, looking at, what types of content convert, retain, what do subscribers like. It's just, and giving that information back to the newsrooms and having them execute against it and making investments from it.
And is the newsroom receptive to your feedback using the data and here's what we should do?
100%. Okay. We have like amazing people in market that are kind of partners, and they push back when they have a point of view that's often right. Like, you don't understand, you're not seeing something that I'm seeing. And sometimes I don't agree with them, and that's the nature of the beast. But deep respect for what they're doing every day, and we're just coming into strategic planning
for 2026
to 27. Yeah, okay. And this is the first time that I think we're going to, before we go off and do the product summit and the editorial summit and the publisher summit, there's a core group of us that are like, let's align on the themes here and figure out if we can do more.
And that typically always starts from the CEO downward, right? When the CEO has a vision, it's amazing to be like, this is where we're going. This is the North Star.
That's right.
Let's help us get there.
And everybody. I think in an organization like ours, where the core business is at risk, but still a giant business. It's the classic innovator's dilemma: is where do you invest, where do you divest? And I think Jeff has done an absolutely stellar job of just understanding where we need to go, but not making rash decisions. And we at Hearst aren't really known for our rash decision making, right. But we've made some really important investments that I think are setting us up. I think we're the healthiest and, the best chance of local news is sitting at Hearst for sure.
Which just means a lot for journalism in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I am an optimist by nature. Why you couldn't be in media if you weren't, but it feels like we're on to something.
So the Hearst Newspapers, 7 or 8 years, you started in ops and now you moved to where?
So strategy and operations was my role up until I took the chief product and strategy officer. Yeah. But again, my boss will remind you, operations for digital. I'm not ordering newsprint.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Every time I hear from our operations people, I'm like, oh,
No, I don't
not
get to hear
that kind of operations,
Okay.
So it's very much the operating of the digital business, I would say.
Okay. And then we met 4 months ago.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah.
And we met and we were talking about
AI. Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into AI.
Okay, great.
So to note,
Yeah.
today we're filming this on Wednesday, July 2nd.
Yep.
Okay, so whatever we say might change when this gets
let's put it in the time capsule.
when this gets released
Yeah.
in 3 or 4 weeks.
I hope they don't look back on YouTube and they're like, those jackasses didn't know what they were talking
No,
about.
nothing's
Yeah.
going to change that much.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's. Well, I mean, that meeting was excellent, and I really.
And we're doing another one on September 18th, and I'm working on the agenda now.
Oh, great. Oh,
And we're going to bring in more companies to have more conversations. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think that started everything we're talking about today.
yeah, that's great. I mean, I think when I took on the strategy role, I did have a moment, and I bet you sometimes feel similarly, where I thought I helped with the internet stuff. Do I have the energy to do this again? Do I have the energy to throw it all away and figure out what this new thing means?
I say the exact same thing. I was in a meeting and I said my swan song is going to be to help figure out how publishers get compensated in the world of AI.
Right.
And I say that's what I want to do, and then I'm all done.
Yeah,
So
totally.
yes, and I think I have the energy.
Yeah, that's right. I really had to take.
I don't know about the one after that.
Yeah, I really had to take a breath though and be like, am I going to go at this in the same way that I went at the internet? And really, I remember, I'm not a technologist, hand coding literally, in the days of style guides and HTML, hand coding my own website because I'm like, I really want to know this in its core. Yeah. Do I have the energy to do that again in AI? But
I believe because you're part of the conversations, there's a handful of us who really want to make
really
this
in
happen.
it. Now I'm in obsessive mode, which is where we have to be. But the big difference that I see between the internet era and this, as it relates to publishers and publishing and legacy, is that all of the people on the upper floors that are at the corporate level are like, go faster.
Because they understand this.
Exactly.
Right. In the programmatic
Yes.
world, they didn't get it. It was so far removed.
Yes.
In the AI world, the CEO knows something's happening, something's
Yes.
coming for them. You come up with an idea, they will say, go for it.
Exactly.
Yes, totally agree.
And so
that's such great insight. Thank you.
The early friction between the print and the digital and all of that, way less so. Right? There's just no one is saying, I totally understand this, but they are saying, go as fast as you can, which I think is great. I think when I joined the New York Times, Martin was the CEO of a separate company. It was not rolling into the legacy newspaper. It rolled into the board.
That was the digital side?
New York Times Digital. Yes. We had a separate office. Okay. We had a whole separate infrastructure.
I did the same thing at Viacom back in the day. We had separate.
That's right.
Down at 770 Broadway.
That's right.
So they thought they thought they had to break everything out.
That's right. I think it was we have dinner, a small group of us, hopefully every year. And I think it was I really believe in my heart that structure is why the New York Times is as far ahead as they are today.
Because they were allowed to separate themselves.
Yeah, we only concerned ourselves every single day with digital, even if it was at, the funniest example is that we were building out the real estate section. And when I joined, it was GIFs, browsable GIFs of the paper, of the little listings in the paper. And we said, no, we're going to go get feeds. And we went broker by broker. And the print people were losing their minds, right?
And if you were part of the same company, it would never have happened.
Never. And like the real estate section became the most important online section for real estate. And we basically said to the brokers, give us your listings for free, because we knew that was the content.
Yeah.
That wasn't the ad, right? And so then you build ad products on part. But like if you're in a print world, you're giving the listings for free?
You totally changed the business model.
Yeah. So, that would have never happened if we were in a separate organization. And I think a lot about that as it relates to AI and what that means for disrupting ourselves.
AI is not separate organizations, but like we said, it has the voice of the CEO every day.
That's right. And again, I think, I don't know whether it needs to be. I'm thinking about this currently. Does it need to be more separate? I think the answer is no, because there's not as much friction, but it probably still needs more focus and investment than it's getting in our organization and across every media organization. But I feel like we're doing as better than a lot of people I've seen, and like really getting a group of people that are only thinking about that all day long. And who are the right people to bring in, and how much do you need to understand journalism versus
right. And as Karen O from Ziff Davis said at a meeting, there's the asymmetry of information of what the publishers know versus what the AI companies know.
That's 100% right. And that harkens back to early Google. We did not know our value in Google land. We built that search business for them. They built an amazing tool.
Best monetization engine in the world.
Exactly. But we did not understand our part in it. And all of the work that Tollbit, Cloudflare, all of this work to try to give us better insights.
And because I send an email out every Sunday or Monday.
Oh, I read them.
And I know, and every week I get a little smarter. And today I got someone's data. I'm like, that can't be right. And they're like, oh, you're right. And I'm like, yeah, because I know this stuff now.
Yeah, totally.
Like, we need to understand what's happening. Otherwise, we can't make the right decisions.
That's right.
As publishers.
And we're now, we now have the raw data. Now we're applying our own internal analyses that says, all right, put it into clusters and groupings. And we've got to look at this in a multimodal way in order to truly understand what are the learning scrapers scraping? What are the rag scrapers scraping? Really interesting, such early days, but for someone who loves data, it's like, ooh.
I am fundamentally a data person. So by me looking at that data, it just excites me every day when I send it in.
Same. I'm just reviewing we are working with Tollbit. Just reviewing our first real look back on that and seeing what's popping. And it's just, I don't have any good smartness yet of what does it all mean? I'm just really
a lot of it's gut, right? Versus having the real data.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And what data are we missing? We're missing a lot of data.
Okay, let me ask you this question. How does AI in your world impact advertising? How do you think about it from an advertising perspective?
Well, we have a really smart guy in our organization named Mike McCarthy who's doing a lot of sales enablement. But really impactful GPTs to make salespeople better. But I think we're starting to get into what product does it allow us to build in ads. And, if you think about local, there's a lot of inefficiencies in local. You have to
That's what Facebook does, right?
Exactly right. But even on the creative side, you're working with small plumbers that don't have the ability to do A/B testing and surveying, and we're putting together a banner for them. And, what audience is it resonating best with? These are all very manual.
No, they don't know those answers at all.
That's right. And we're trying to help them, but it's a small campaign. And so you imagine that there's a lot of automation and smartness that can be built in with creative matching to audiences and automated optimizations. So we're working on that. On the programmatic world, I think similarly to AI, it's going to allow us to get insights and visibility into performance that we perhaps has been buried for us. And, we don't have, there's a difference between what the bidders are seeing and what we're able to see. So I think that will be helpful. And I really think creative is just an unsung hero in all of this, that we think so much about placement and targeting.
dynamic creative, changing for who the audience is. Yes.
Like
That's what Facebook's been promising, and think that they're going to be able to do it. And Google will do the same thing, and Amazon and all the big companies.
Yeah, but I don't think that there's a barrier. I think we can do the same, and I think we might have some data and insights that perhaps helps that, more so than Facebook.
And then how about first party data in your world? What are you using there?
Yep. So I would say newspapers is at a 3, if 10 is the perfect.
3 out of 10, that's not good.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting started. But you have to remember, local advertisers, we act as their agency of record in a lot of cases, right? So our sales teams are out there really delivering agency type media buying. So first party data, we have nice contextual data. We obviously have some basics on demographics, but it's part of a much larger package, which is why we haven't focused on it. And also in programmatic land, most people, because the demise of the cookie wasn't coming, we're not that interested in first party data, right? We're in a different landscape now, and so we're bringing in our data scientists, and we obviously have a very good model. Mike Newzone magazines, having built Aura, we understand the framework for how they did that, and so but it is it's a separate data set, and it's a very differentiated data set. It's lifestyle and news are very different, and local and national is very different. So the way that we think of it is, what does newspapers have as it relates to data that is different than Decipher or anybody else? Obviously, location is, what does location mean to your persona and what you do? We also have much better visibility into your life events, buying a house.
Okay, weddings.
Yeah,
kids.
Going to the doctor. Like we have this kind of local look at what your life is like or where you're going.
Okay.
And so we think that
because when I think of news, I think of more the national ones. They don't have that, but the local ones do.
Yeah, and so that feels to me differentiated and interesting. So we're just really we're building this out now and testing it and doing some local tests and tying events to outcomes. But we've got a year of work, and also we need to be talking to Mike Orensky and the national players that he talks to just, does this solve a problem for them as well? When we survey, Jessica Hogue, who's the chief data officer of all of Hearst, did a really excellent research project where she was asking buyers what they want in this AI world. What do you want?
If they know.
Yeah. And what was news to me is even some of the largest Fortune 500 buyers have this local part of their business that they have to execute on, and they have very low visibility there. And that felt like an opportunity. So, so we're leaning into that.
Okay. You brought up the term marketplace before, which I'm fascinated by. It's my biggest word I think about. And on July 1st, Cloudflare actually started blocking a bunch of the bots.
Yep.
What do you think about that? And what do you think about a marketplace evolving?
An AI marketplace evolving?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's where we're going. I have heard, I won't say from whom, RAG as a service.
What does that mean?
It means that grounding and training get offered to a whole group of customers at a platform level, not an LLM level.
Okay.
Which seems super interesting, both a risk and an opportunity. I also think as it relates to our world, the LLMs are not going to be building specific experiences with novel data that is niche, right? That's where we can come in and build out experiences that are much more useful for a local user that use the tenets of the large LLMs, but bring sort of a specific news or local set of data to it. I think that's where we're going to win, because I think everyone is going to be focusing. If you take the function of what the GPTs are doing, or what your search experience on OpenAI is, you realize they're not going to be building out specific tooling and use cases.
Right. So you need specialization at some area. Like right now I use ChatGPT and Gemini. I'm finally starting to realize there's a difference in two of them.
Yeah, that's right.
In the beginning, they were all the same to me.
Same. I just
now I
started.
realize I'm going for this question. I'm going to go here for
Exactly.
that.
And I've just brought Claude into my world as well for the same reason of like, what does Claude have to say about this? And he's much friendlier.
Right. And then as you do that, you realize, okay, which one am I going to use when and where's all the learnings from? But that's a new habit we're all developing now.
That's right. And so in newsland and media land, for example, we just built for our reporters out of our DevHub a tool called Assembly, which is a listener for all the government meetings, right? And so the first use case was tooling for our reporters. You don't have to go to every single government meeting. We will summarize it for you. And then you can look if news has broken. And our most fun example is there was a random subcommittee meeting in San Francisco where they announced a chief garbage czar that they were going to pay some, $250.
I remember seeing that or hearing that, yes.
What a great use of that tool. Well, we're now, we should be live this quarter, flipping that into a user tool. And so
basically developing a new product.
Yeah. And so a lot of the products coming out of the DevHub with AI as their basis, we try out as a tool. And then we're saying, all right, how can we, and also AI using AI to scale the data and scale the experience is also important. But if you think about problems to be solved for local residents, the data that you need and the AI that you need to sort of scale it
is different.
Very different.
Well, it's funny because we live in New York City, so you don't think about local because everything feels New York City is national. But when you do put yourself in a local area, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's right. Like we just launched one of the most successful betas that we ever did was in Houston at the Houston Chronicle. Property taxes in Texas are a very big deal because
property taxes in every state
correct,
are a big
but
deal.
Even more so in Texas because there's no income tax.
Okay.
And so
there's a tax. It's just not it's the property taxes.
Exactly. So it's at a higher rate.
Yes.
It's a much bigger portion. So we basically built a tool that allowed you to put in your property, see you indexed against your neighborhood. But then, and this is the difference, and this is where news has to get to, we then say, would you like to fight this?
Oh.
We'll take you step by step, and we give you, based on the data that you provide to us about your house, we use AI to build you out a script that you take to court.
That's crazy.
It's amazing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's the world that we can live in now. And
that's an AI agent game changer right there.
Exactly. And nobody is going to build that except for us, right?
Right, because someone probably by the national level, they won't be able to do it.
Right. And so it was very beta, but wow, it was the biggest green arrow we've seen. And so
anyone who owns a home in the Texas area is going to use that sucker, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so what is it, free or paid, or is it a subscription, or what do we have to build? How do we scale it out?
I think you get 10% of whatever the savings are.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Rev share. I love that.
There you go.
It's very smart. I'll think about that one. But those are you can imagine hundreds of ideas that can scale out. And I think that's where we feel optimistic.
Okay, I have a question for you. I assume you're using Parsley, you're using WordPress.
Yeah.
Right?
No, we're not using WordPress.
Okay. What's CMS? Homegrown CMS. Okay. And right now, all the LLMs are getting the data from scraping.
Yep.
That's eventually going to go away.
Yep.
Okay. And hopefully the publishers can API into the LLMs, into a marketplace, they figure it out.
That's right.
My question, and I've done this before, but I'm going to ask you, what other data could you feed to the LLMs besides just the article?
I love this for us. It's my favorite topic.
So if you could give me like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 ideas, go.
Introducing, trademarked, the Reporter's Notebook. So the idea in the olden days.
All the notes?
Hold on.
Okay, sorry. So I get excited.
In the olden days, they take transcripts, interviews, documents. They put it all aside. They transcribe. They give you 1,000 words that describes everything that they've looked at. The idea is that we have to get the DNA, the atoms of that article and collect it.
Okay.
And imagine what that does for our reporters going forward, where they can query something and say, give me all the transcripts and every interview I've ever done and all the documents I've ever collected. And then is there something that we publish to the LLMs that is different than we publish to the user?
Well, the agentic web and the human web, yes.
Yep. But maybe in this era of disinformation, mistrust, do we allow the user to have a liquid experience where they can go and choose their own adventure through that story? And maybe that takes them to yet another story. That is where we're going. I believe in my soul that this is where we're going.
Is that for the human web or the agentic web?
I think the human web. That's why I don't know yet. All of this data that we will collect that we don't have. And by the way, we should be querying trusted sources of structured data in our markets that also adds to our reporting. Something as simple as grocery prices at HEB. I don't know if you know HEB. It's a beloved grocer. Yeah. Or government data from from Berkeley, right? Like that adds to our body of work. So we start collecting this. What's helpful to the user? To trust us more, to be able to see more if they want. And then, if you're a report, and by the way, obviously with sources, the reporter chooses what never makes it into this. That's a given, right? This is the reporter that.
But this is just, instead of just the 800-word article, you get everything else combined with it
that they choose to make public.
That the reporter chooses to make public
because they've got agreements with who they're talking
to.
So, and so. Yes. So the user who says, I'm not sure about this story, can you give them more that makes them see it? Or the user says, I want to go deeper, and you send them off in a different path.
I spoke to these 3 people. Here's the 25 people I spoke to.
Yep.
I always think here's my version 1, and I change it to make version 3.
Exactly.
Fact check this.
I mean, back in the day, I remember being on a ski trip in my 30s with a bunch of reporters talking about the internet, and we were talking about this thing where you see the article and then you could flip it and see everything behind the article. And,
that's a great concept.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think it's less a flip and more of the liquid, like the choose your own adventure part of it. But those are the things. Listen, we have so much to work out, but this is where we need to be going.
Producer Andrew, it's so fascinating talking to a product person, hearing the product ideas you have, because I don't think about it that way because that's not my role, but It's fascinating when you talk about that.
Yeah, it's we have so much to work out, but I believe this is where we're going. I don't believe it's come to our website and ask the Chronicle bot something. It's the idea of liquidity.
Well, I also think it's a lot of come to my website. I know this reporter.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about what this reporter has to say about these topics.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Whether it's flipping it or everything else you said.
That's right. And is it an app or is it inside your glasses? I'm not sure. But, how we my challenge to the newsroom that we'll be talking about in these next weeks is we have to deliver journalism in different formats. And mostly we're still writing articles. And so the format could be
simple articles still.
It could be a data visualization. It could be an answer. It could be the audio summary.
I always go back to, here's an article and here's 500, 1,000 comments. What do the comments say? How do I use the comments? How do I interpret them? Is it the same comment across this? There's just
100%
so much
right.
information there.
100% right. That also makes me think when we're talking about collecting this body of work, user-generated now becomes very interesting.
Well, who did the biggest deals out there of anyone? It's Reddit with their OpenAI and Gemini deals.
Exactly.
It's all user-generated. There it is.
That's right. And I love Reddit so much. But, we try, in the olden days, everyone's like, oh, we have community, we have user-generated because we have comments, and that's nonsense. And so how do we tap into our community to help us tell the right story, even down to the town level, right? Where you can't have a reporter in every town, but you've got, sometimes it's
that's what Patch tried to do, but it felt like they didn't.
It was just, it was a little sad.com. But that also adds to the body of work that we're collecting for the agentic web, but also making the user experience better.
Okay, so any closing remarks before we wrap up? Any story you want to tell me?
The story of my life will be that I'm an optimist. But, I will end by saying journalism is really important to this country, and we have to solve this. And I once said I was a thoughtful mercenary. My job is to like save the journalism, and because it is the foundation.
Because we have it in us for another one.
That's right. I 100%. Yeah. I don't know about the one after that, but
No.
yeah, exactly.
So Bridget Williams, thank you so much. Producer Andrew, thank you so much. Fabulous conversation.
Lovely.
I am so glad we met. So glad that JR introduced us.
Likewise.
Brings me so much joy that you're here. Any questions, any comments, let us know. Thank you very much.
Thank you.